IAP fund, after all the refunding, but this number doesn't include the PPG, the 72,500. If you take the $1.1 million minus the 72,500 that we refunded in 2012 for PPG, it's going to show that this one has still over $1 million. That can be continued to use for road purpose for which the impact fee was collected. But it's important that the town move forward and get that money spent and close out the fund. And when the town spend the money, make sure we file the AB 1600 report or impact fee, fiscal impact.
What we spent.
Yeah, but this is something to keep in mind to exhaust that
This
fund.
should all be
Otherwise, you
spent
have
in
to
road
refund the
impacts,
money.
right?
Okay?
This should all be spent in road impacts.
Whatever the street purpose for street maintenance.
We should be charging on the Cape Seal to it.
Yeah, and I think Public Works should keep an eye to make sure this fund is closed out since we seen that the
How much
council.
time do we have to spend it?
Usually, I don't know the resolution, but my last job, they had 5 years to refund them.
enough.
Yeah,
That's-
So where is this cash in now
In the bank.
It's just under unrestricted or it's
We stopped,
restricted cash?
It is restricted
It is
cash.
Restricted, right?
Yeah.
we stopped collecting.
We stopped in December of 2009, I believe. So we should use up this money, and if we stop it in 2009, keep in mind whatever the timeline is, otherwise you will.
Well, there was an item on the agenda, is that for tomorrow?
Huh?
Was there an item on the agenda tomorrow, on how to fund the roads?
Yes, you asked for that to be,
That's
so
nice.
that would be a good point, good place to bring it up. But I think since I'm not going to be here, someone needs to make sure that this fund is used.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay,
But the finance committee meets tomorrow, and that's items on the agenda.
yes. Yeah, at your request, Gray, I put that on the agenda.
Okay, good.
Okay. This is strictly just a straightforward report. Mark, is there anything else you want to comment on the audit report?
Other than that, I think the 46, which is kind of same thing that you talked about.
Yeah, page 40,
46,
46,
which is like more detail of what,
and more detail, yeah.
of what you talked about.
Yeah, what is restricted,
All
what
the
is
new fund balance,
non-spent.
what's
Yeah.
restricted and what is committed and assigned and unassigned.
I actually had a question.
Sure.
Is that all right, or you
Yeah,
want to keep going?
absolutely.
So my question under these unfunded liabilities for healthcare in the
Uh-huh.
future,
Uh-huh.
where is that in here, or is that something you as a counselor are worried about still, or what's
Right.
how is that all kind of settled out?
Well, we had the last two council meetings ago and the last audit committee meeting, you know, there was the fund that we have for the healthcare
Mm-hmm.
that we'd been putting in the bank, but we never made it restricted, so that we couldn't get it back.
Mhm.
And we brought that to the council and said,
We're good at it.
so it should be restricted now.
And how much is in there?
It's $700,000.
Right now, you can see on page 66,
About 700,000.
I think there's employee benefits
Yeah.
fund,
Yeah.
And
on
so-
66.
And so what happens then, and so what's our overall obligation?
About
Right,
huge.
1.2 million.
It's like,
Yeah.
no, but the overall obligation is 12 million.
I thought it was
Are we talking
7,
about
8, 9, 10.
Oh, the
retirement,
actual-
or are we talking about pension?
No, we're
You
talking
talk
about
health, retirement
Okay.
healthcare.
So that was my first one, and then the
Off
second one.
balance sheet liability.
Okay.
And I think
That was my
that's
second question.
Yeah.
like 12 million.
The retired medical, under the direction, and I was going to provide an update to the finance committee. Last time, the audit committee made a motion, and the council accepted to set a 115 trust, and for the finance committee to make a recommendation on the trust provider. I did send out an RFP to get to update our actuarial study, because now we have less employees, so our unfunded liability should go down. I am getting the proposal back either today or tomorrow. That is, first you have to get the study, select an actual, then you have to determine your unfunded liability. Then the next step is to go out and select whether we want to go with CalPERS Trust, or we'd like to go with a Union Bank Pass. What are the advantage and disadvantages of one versus the other? But since I'm not going to be here, someone else needs to take over the process to continue on with the study and look for the provider and set up the trust document and set up the investment vehicles.
Are you gonna give us a laundry list of
Yeah,
everything? that
in the
we-
finance committee to
Oh,
I will
okay,
provide
just
this.
everything that the town needs to do.
Yeah.
Is it restricted now? Has it been set up as a restricted and just, we don't have the investment vehicle? Because you can do that. Or is it still not restricted?
It's not restricted. It's just in an internal service fund, it's somewhat designated, but the council can always change its mind and use it.
Well, I think the council voted that we were going to make it restricted. So before you leave, is it possible that we could make it restricted and then do the investment vehicles later?
I think technically you cannot restrict it because there's no outside third party
Legal
restriction,
restriction.
because the city council can just move, if 2 weeks later they change their mind,
Yeah.
they can just move
And
the
that's
cash.
why we want to make it restricted, so they can't do it.
Right, so unless the, well, for June 30, 11 is late, it's a bit late, but for June 30, you have, unless you do a commitment, unless you do a formal commitment,
Our solution,
correct.
yeah.
We did.
We did all that.
Not a formal resolution.
Well,
Yeah.
the council voted to make this fund restricted.
No, to go forward with a 115 trust, but there's no resolution to designate that amount as restricted for that purpose in that fund. That's no
Well,
specific.
no, I think everybody understood that what we were doing,
Yeah.
and we were making it so that this council or any future councils
Could
could not take that money and spend it any other way and further burden the taxpayers with this unfunded
And that
liability.
is that irrevocable trust that we need to set up.
That's what we need to get that set up
Yeah.
ASAP.
Yeah,
And then, I agree, you want to evaluate what investment vehicles you want, you can always make that decision later. You
Yeah.
don't have to have that decision made before you make it to where you
True.
can't get it.
but in order to sign up for 115 trust, I have conversation with Union Bank and PAS and all that. They do need the latest actuarial study to say what is your unfunded liability, because our old study is now outdated because of our reduction in workforce. So that doesn't give us the latest indication of the unfunded liability. So
Okay.
they do request
All
to
right,
see.
so, I know you won't be here, but we're going to have to have this as an agenda item, I think, for the next meeting, so we make sure it gets done, don't you think?
I agree.
Yeah,
We made the recommendation here, the council approved it, it needs to just get done, and so we need to have a way that it actually is written down so we all remember to do it.
my recommendation is, the council or the committee, the committee for the council can assign that responsibility with the city manager to get it accomplished on a certain date specific. But right now I'm in the process of requesting this employees health center information from CalPERS, but unfortunately someone need to take it over to head that project. I would love to finish this project, but just the timing, is one that I would really enjoy doing. But I think someone need to take charge of this transition and get that project moving so that we can get it accomplished.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
maybe one of the things you could put a proposal into John to, work part-time to finish this project.
Well, I was think someone else probably will be in a better place to do that.
Okay, that's
Just
all.
make sure, I think you should say, let's just make
Yeah,
sure.
I will be happy to
Somebody's
assist.
front and center,
Yeah.
that we know.
Yeah, but we need to make can you make a note that this is an agenda item for next time,
Okay,
with whoever we're meeting with,
okay,
because it needs to get done.
okay.
Because I think everybody on the council thought it's done and it's untouchable now, so.
No, it's not.
So we just need to make sure it gets done, because that's how we said we were going to do it.
I have a question on page 5.
Page 5, okay.
On the financial highlights, as you say, at the end of the current fiscal year, the unassigned fund balance for the general fund was $3,005,000 or 30%. Now that excludes the 1.7 that's assigned.
I think, and we saw,
Yes, that is just the unassigned, which exclude the assigned, the commit, the restrict, and the non-spendable.
Should it?
Unassigned means that it have no destination, restriction, or commitment.
The assignment is just 20% of the operating expenses.
20% of the operating expenses are overall general fund balance we'd like to have, including the committed, everything included in is a minimum, no matter what, we will not let it go.
But that's
below
not even
20.
3.5.
Right now, we have more than 20%, but this 3.5 is saying that we have more than 20%.
Well, I just question whether it shouldn't be said here in this highlight, the 1.7.
This is somewhat the format, I let Mark answer the question.
Correct, because right now it says that the general fund unassigned fund balance, the minimum fund balance for unassigned category cannot be less than 20%. So the minimum fund that, the minimum amount for general fund unassigned fund balance has to be 20% or more.
And this is the excess.
This is more than 20%,
This
it's not.
This is the total. So the total right now, let me look at it. The total right now is, for unassigned is 3.5 million.
3.52.
3.5, correct, 3.52 is more than the 20%.
Yeah,
Right, I guess
Yes,
I look at that 20% as
20%.
kind of self-imposed.
yes.
correct, it is, which it is.
So I would think that would be pointed out in your highlights.
For the council.
It is in the back in one of your footnotes.
Correct, correct.
It is, which
It's on
footnote?
page 47.
Page 47, you did point that out.
Right.
It's a footnote disclosure. It's on D. It's on
Yeah.
note 7, capital D, is saying that the council has established.
Yeah, I think Greg's point was though, is that you should just say self-imposed and put it in the front in your summary.
Oh, in the
You
MD&A.
can have the detail back here as you did, you say we've done it, and,
Or at least back here, you ought to say what the amount is. You got 20%, but you don't say what the amount is.
Plus or minus, because sometimes you don't want to highlight that when you,
Well, I think we have to adhere
yeah,
to the policy
yeah.
of 20%, and that's all you need to say at the beginning.
Right, but I think that, I don't know, I just feel comfortable if you disclose.
Right.
It's in the statements, it's in the statement.
Yeah, MD&A is just going to explain what you have. It's not to this format MD&A, and Mark correct me if I'm wrong, is pretty much follow the guideline from GFOA.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's actually from Gatsby.
Gatsby,
It's the kind of
yes.
standard, but you cannot say more and cannot,
Exactly.
you cannot say more than what they require to. But I think in this case, if you like, at the end of bullet point, you can say that the
time is taken.
the town has a minimum general fund unassigned fund balance policy of 20% of the actual expenditures.
Yeah. Oh, you mean to put it in this bullet?
Yeah, just a second sentence. If you,
Add another sentence?
yeah, so that way reader
Yeah,
can, when you look at it, it's okay, you have 30.1% and the minimum fund balance policy is 20%.
do
So
you want
you're-
me to send it to you?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
sure.
I can do it.
And where are you gonna put it, on page 5 or?
On page 5.
On page 5, we're
On
going to add a
page
sentence.
5, that way I think a reader, when they first look at it, they kind of know that it's already complies with the
Good
policy.
or bad, sometimes you don't want to highlight that when you're in negotiation.
Yeah.
So is that it? Are we finished?
I'll make a motion to accept it.
Okay, all the reports so we can bring forward. Okay, so we have a motion from Randy, is there a second?
what are we accepting 4C, is that what we're doing, or are we?
We are accepting
Or are we
all
accepting
A-
5, because we haven't even discussed 5?
No, we are accepting A, B, and C.
Okay.
Before.
Yeah, so.
A second.
Oh, who's second?
It doesn't
Go
matter.
ahead.
Okay, okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Good report.
Okay,
Thank you.
yeah.
I think I got it done, this is the fastest ever.
Well,
Well, we didn't get it till last night, did we?
I know, we're working
I didn't
on
get
it,
it till
and
this
being so
afternoon, that's
patient.
We were still calling last night.
I'm not sure that we gave it to
Usually it's not that rush, I have the remainder of November,
that's
Okay,
great to get it
no-
done.
no
Get it
complaints.
done. It's
No
great.
complaints.
and I will have a staff report ready to go, so it will be on the December City Council agenda, and Mark is gonna deliver the electronic version and the, on the copy in November. Okay?
Okay,
Now,
next item.
Next item
Internal
is
review memo from Mays and Associates to discuss town's response.
What is the deadline for this?
6 months after year end, within 180 days, it has to be accepted and finished and completed,
So,
according to government code.
I do think that you should put it out someplace, that we should get it for at least 10 days before the meeting.
Absolutely. I think, in fact, ideally, one of the things that is going a discussion going on is the information being late. I feel as the longer the audit report they go, the financial statement, the less they are effective to the reader. People find it more useful if it's issued within 90 days after month end, year end, because then the information, the data is not stable.
But that's true with
Yeah, most cities trying to meet, if they have a long term that they have to meet, they have to issue the audit report by October 31st in order to meet their loan requirement. That is something to strive for, maybe by October 31st. I put the burden on someone else.
Yeah, I think that's good, we should probably pass that resolution.
carry down the road.
Yeah,
We should make a recommendation on that.
and turn this into, from a basic to comprehensive with statistics. I started that get it halfway done, but then couldn't accomplish it.
When are you leaving, Louise?
This Thursday.
Could you give me your card in case I have some questions?
Oh,
Okay.
absolutely.
Then I will be, I will be back the day before Thanksgiving for one day.
You'll
And
be back when?
the day before Thanksgiving.
About when your vacation.
23rd.
Yeah. And I can check with John, and he doesn't need me to do a longer transition, so we'll be fine. He requests that I just.
She volunteered to do the transition, and so far it doesn't.
I'm gonna just put it in writing. Yeah.
So,
Well, I think we're gonna have some discussion.
Yeah, but at this point, I probably won't be able to do it now because I have something set up, so now it will be difficult to extend now because I did offer, but at this point, yeah, I have other engagement. Okay?
Okay,
Or appointment or things to do.
Yeah.
Okay,
moving on.
all right. We are on to item number 5. And I'm going to turn it over to Mark. But before we go, when it comes to vacation, before Mark take over, I want to make a changes on management response. I just got the last sentence I put under the maximum vacation accrual for management employee.
Some item
On-
2011-02, right?
Yeah. I mentioned that when employee is to use his vacation balance or will be cashed out by December 2012 as requested by the department head. I was just informed yesterday that they decide this individual would be cashed out by June 30th of 2012.
Now, where is it, what page?
Page?
On top it says 2011-02.
What page?
Over page.
There's no page.
Sorry, I didn't put that.
Oh, it's on the next.
the second,
The third phase.
Third page.
First page.
So what paragraph and what?
The management response,
Oh.
And then management
yeah,
response.
What are we supposed to do?
the last sentence,
Oh.
say one employee, one employee is to cash out his vacation by December, not going to be June.
that's report here.
June?
Yeah,
2012?
Yeah.
So 6 months per year?
Number 5.
Oh, okay.
Because I mentioned it to the department head that you really don't want this management recommendation letter to go another year.
Okay.
Yes, we will.
So it will be June.
Make it consistent.
Yeah, okay? All right, so I'm
So,
going
so what's the date gonna be now, June?
June.
June,
End of the paragraph. Very end of the
before,
paragraph.
on or before June 2012, everybody will be, this person will be in compliance.
Okay, but I thought that there was one employee, and that it would be done by December,
That's December 2012, so we're now changing it to June of 2012. Because if you go into December 2012, it's going to go into fiscal year 2013's audit
all
financial
right,
statement.
okay, I got
Okay.
it.
All right, so I'm going to turn it over to Mark Wong if he wants to address any internal control issues.
Okay, I'll just quickly go through 2011-01, the bidding process.
Oh, wait, right.
Oh, you go here.
Yeah. On the bidding process, this is item that basically we have discussed it in the last audit committee meeting, and I have left it here, but with some update information. Basically, since then, Bill mentioned earlier, he has already gone to the city attorney for his review. And what I will add here in the recommendations is that I will add here language in there to encourage the town to adopt the new purchasing policy as soon as possible.
Okay, all right, fine, and the other thing is this. we're a general law city, okay? And so, you know, the business of the people is to be conducted in the open, right? That's what the Brown Act says.
Mhm.
So the business of the people is conducted normally either through hiring or through contracts. When those contracts are for more than $15,000, the city writes RFPs and they submit them. Then the city opens the RFPs and they pick for whatever qualification criteria is, the low bidder or the one that's most qualified. And, you know, and with a secondary consideration of cost. Then the contract gets put in place. Now, if the RFP was flawed, then the contract will be flawed. So I think that one of the things that you might consider, and when we look at this policy, but I would like to bring up, is that the RFPs need to be reviewed for $15,000 or more by council. Not the contracts, or not the approval for the contracts, because the contracts are set based on the RFP, according to our city attorney. That you cannot change one iota of something that's not in the RFP. You can't add a term even if you think it's critical, or if you've implied it, but it wasn't specifically written, you can't add that in. So the RFPs need to be approved by council if they're over $15,000, not the contract.
The RFP itself.
Yeah, you can do RFP and the contract, I don't care, you can do both actually, but, okay?
Okay.
But my question is, in order to make it consistent, should that be added to the purchasing policy? Is it the council's desire to say, anytime if you want to go out for an RFP over 15,000, staff should submit the RFP for council's approval?
Well,
before they send it
I'll
out?
put it in there, but it's actually an implementation of the Brown Act. The Brown Act says the business of the people needs to be conducted in the sunshine. And the business of the people, over $15,000 is something people should be informed about. Now, the council serves as the basis of the people when people don't all have a populist vote. It's the Brown Act. Okay? So ever since I was told that we couldn't adhere and fix some of our contracts, then I did a little research as to how we need to fix them, and that's how we have to fix them. Now, there's resistance that people don't think that we need to look at the RFPs, but we do, because it's the business of the people.
But you can't change the contract from what you went out to bid for?
Nope, not according to our current city attorney.
Well, then he would support your recommendation, wouldn't he?
Yes, he does, actually.
Okay.
Anything else?
Okay, and the second item, the maximum vacation accrual, this is also,
Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Couldn't you just go back to the council for any amendment on a contract for over 15,000?
You're supposed to do that too.
Yeah.
That hasn't always been done properly, but I think that it would.
Well, wouldn't that solve the problem with the RFP, that
No.
if they wanted to change the RFP, they could go out to bid on the additional amount? Well, I don't know.
According to the council.
Forget
If
it.
you want to change it, you have to throw out all
Yeah.
of the.
And start again.
And start again.
All right.
okay, on the 2011-02 for maximum accrual for management employees, and this, I think we addressed it in the interim already, so I think this satisfy our, the management response provided by Louis.
Yeah, I'm going to
So,
send you
right.
a change on that.
Yep. Okay.
Just the word December to June.
Right.
Okay.
And then last item, which is the building permits, deposits, payable, closeout, and the between building department and finance, they have been looking at the details, and finance has already taken in some of the revenues, but there are still some other details there are furthermore to review. So I believe.
We still have about $500,000 of building deposit on book. And I think in the former interim building official.
Yeah, I thought they were sweeping some.
We've had 2 attorneys review this thing, we've had 2 building people I mean, Kathy was on a committee when we said we're gonna sweep these funds, and we just keep on keeping on. and
I thought we had
somebody else
some-
to
We
look at it.
have,
They already did.
some of the
They did
CIP
some of
does
it,
it.
not
Then
all.
let's do it,
No.
let's take the money and put it in the general fund, it just drives me crazy.
But because of the transition,
They've done a couple $100,000.
They have, but you're still 500, whatever.
we did about 170 some thousand.
And it's just the process, it
Yeah.
says on it, we have this attorney prove it, that attorney prove it.
112,
That's on the building deposits payable.
right, right. Because
And
even,
then there are some other miscellaneous ones.
yeah, but I think the key is now because we're transitioning from one firm to another firm, I would recommend that the committee ask for a procedure again to see if that procedure that was formally dropped by the building official is going to be remain and implemented or going to be changes, and occasionally I think that needs to be a check and balance to make sure the process continue and we are up to date on ensuring that the deposit is handled in a timely manner.
Totally disagree. We have been down this road and down this road. And if this Intervest or whoever changes to Massey Inc. in 6 months, we're right there again, or we're not putting the money in the general fund. And I think that's not, I think that is wrong.
I thought we had written the process, and I thought that Dennis had done that, right?
He did, and I
Okay.
forwarded
So-
to Interwest.
So why, well, look, he wrote the process got approved, right?
It was not submitted to council for approval. It just been.
Well, I don't see it just because we've changed personalities that we need to ask Mike now to take, because, you know, because that's gonna be, let me just be real clear. If you look at the job descriptions for Interwest, for the work that they're doing, that's an extra charge. Why are we gonna pay for this to be developed twice?
This would be the third.
I thought we were all on the same page on this,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
two audit committees ago.
right, yeah, because Dennis came and presented it.
Yeah, I mean, not even meetings ago, I mean, yeah.
Many.
Yeah.
Right.
So we paid Dennis to do it because he was a contract
Right.
employee, and now we've got Mike Kashiwagi in Interwest, and he'll probably farm it out to somebody back in Sacramento, and then we'll get charged again for it because their contract allows them to do that.
I don't think they should be charging, I haven't,
I think we should just
Because-
implement what we've got.
I would just sweep.
I agree
Where-
with
Jim's
Jim.
right, Jim, just sweep it, just sweep the dang stuff and go.
but someone had to look at what to sweep, and we have to make sure we
But
do
we have
that.
a
I thought we
process
did
that was
that.
supposedly in place.
I thought we did that, we looked at that whole list at one of the audit committee meetings. I'm not upset, I'm just saying, I thought we already
Right.
did this.
But we don't know if it's completed or not,
What do you mean?
whether the sweeping is completely done or,
You mean, so somebody is sweeping?
prior to that, for a period of time, then I don't know where we are now, so it's
Because
something.
we were writing letters to people, as I
Yes,
remember.
yeah.
We had written letters, and if they haven't responded, Jim, we have to
So
go.
okay,
We've approved this.
okay,
Yeah,
we're all
it
getting
was-
frustrated.
It was done, Dennis did a lot to get it processed. But what I'm saying is that since Dennis left, someone need to pick it up and ensure that either it's look back and say, is it done 100%? We clear everything we should clear, or someone who is now assigned the responsibility to review what was done and ensure that it's done 100%.
Okay,
That's
okay,
what-
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I
So
think
we don't
we're
have
reacting,
somebody doing it now.
yeah, I think what we're reacting to
Yes.
is management's response to that. With the transition from CSG to Interwest,
Mhm.
the town has requested Interwest to now review the written procedure drafted and to ensure the process is in place.
Yeah,
Well, I think we should just say,
No.
Interwest is to be implementing the process that
Right.
was previously developed. It doesn't matter who
Developed
developed
and
it.
approved.
Developed and approved, that's it, period, the end.
Period.
We don't want them
No more
to
review.
rewrite it.
Yeah,
And the only issue, Bill, was that we had last time was if, as Louise was right, there was an issue with potential appeals and
Right.
people that we couldn't reach, and how were we gonna give them more time to respond? Other than that, I think that was it.
Time is over now.
It's over now, it's gotta be
Well,
over.
the lawyer's gotta say if the time is up.
Yeah,
No,
it was a
it's
reasonable
for-
timeframe, that was all
for
it
a
was,
long time.
reasonable.
So, can I
It's
add,
very
you
reasonable.
cannot
Yeah.
just sweep, you have
Overly
to,
reasonable.
you have to follow the unclaimed property rule, and you have to make sure that you either send out requests, or you do public notice saying you cannot just sweep without at least an attempt to contact.
Oh, we did,
We've done all
did.
Yes, I
We
know,
did that.
I know.
Sure.
I know.
Everybody understands.
Yeah, and it was done. So the response, can I get what Vice Mayor just say, Interwest to You
Implement the
Implement.
process.
implement the process
Yeah,
as
Take the money and run.
As approved.
approved.
By the audit committee.
So Kathy, I said, what, 2 years ago?
Oh, at least.
Audit committee
Right.
prepared by the former building official.
Right. and if,
Okay,
you
I
know,
will pass on
and
the
if
message.
if they would like to come to the audit committee and suggest a change, then Mike can waste time doing that, but don't write that down.
Okay,
Right.
but I did,
Buzzsaw.
yeah.
But don't change, no, we're not opening
We're
the
not,
door
we're
for
not,
change.
no, we're just completing it.
Okay,
Complete-
okay.
Closing the door, closing the loop,
Yes.
as approved.
As approved.
Whoever can do it though.
Right. Okay,
Right.
good, thank you.
Okay,
So do you need us to?
Make a motion on that?
No, this, item
This is
five.
gonna be the response.
Item five, item five.
this is just for
And I
discussion.
suggest you make a motion, because I want to abstain, because I wasn't here on the board when the business was.
Okay,
Okay, so we're gonna move that, that Louise will follow up on this and make sure that InterWest, implements the procedure, closing out the books as we have approved by the audit committee,
I don't know, April or something like that.
in
At its
April.
previous meeting.
As yeah.
okay.
Okay, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
I abstain.
Okay, so we have,
For once.
great.
Please, Mark, let's not see this on the agenda next year.
Yeah, he's gonna have to come.
I
back.
will go
to. No, you want
I'll be
that.
willing, I want it out, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, the first time you need to tour.
Okay,
So we should probably move ahead.
yes,
Okay, well, we're on the last one.
we are the last one.
That's it.
Springbok.
Okay, okay, anything else for?
One last item, the Springbok mark.
Yeah, I think the spring book, right now, I think the city manager should take over some of the HR resources function, and data has been loaded into HR module, and
Serious.
the deputy city clerk right now has to obtain training to take over the HR module in
On the,
spring book.
on the,
So-
we had a capital lease on that software? I saw that in the previous packet.
Capital
Why did we
lease.
capitalize the lease?
No, it's not
Why-
capital.
Or no, I didn't know, you had it in the capital replacement fund. That's my other question.
Yeah.
How is software in a capital replacement fund? I have never seen that. I have never seen software put in a capital replacement fund.
Oh, that's money set aside for future upgrade.
Yeah, I understand, but that's not what you did.
In governmental funds, typically it's either internal service, most typically it's internal service fund. They annually they will charge departments so that in future they can use it to replace future capital needs. It can be anything from software
Yeah,
to a
Government.
police car, or so every year they will charge them. They will
No, I
estimate.
understand they have
yeah,
an
so,
equipment replacement
Right.
fund, it's,
Right.
but
This
I never saw
government-
software get put in
I
there.
would rather put it in a depreciation fund.
Yeah, I
yeah,
would
yeah,
too.
so-
But okay.
All right, is that the last item?
Yep, item number 6 is meeting day, and you may want to
Let's look
wait,
at the next
Yeah.
meeting.
maybe premature.
All right, we're gonna defer that until we get more information on how to proceed, how to move forward for the next meeting.
Well, do we need to,
What's
so
the
I'm
issue?
gonna have to meet to review the final report, or not, this is
No.
it?
No, this is it.
Okay, fine, all right.
Yeah.
Those are you guys.
So, so what's the problem with setting a date for the next meeting?
We don't have
Pardon?
we don't have a staff person. We don't know if
We
we
can
have a staff.
still set a date.
Yeah.
Well, you gotta function, I don't know how you're gonna function, but whoever is functioning, we should.
Should we make it in January?
So under these circumstances, will, I mean.
Well, what is the
plan
plan?
somebody new?
As far as replacing it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't,
Well,
well,
let's just set a date sometime in January.
yeah, let's set a
Well, I think
date.
it should be sooner rather than later,
Well,
because we don't know what's going on.
Well, it's already November.
you know,
We
we
usually
can't,
do these every 2 months, I think.
but whoever
I don't
replaces
care.
it is gonna need a little time to come up to speed. So my recommendation is to make it, say, the second week in January.
Yeah, I prefer to see the